Well, CEOs have been a target in this time of economic crisis. One likes to vilify CEOs. I used to be one of them. I'm not gonna admit it. But let's look at it from the CEO's perspective instead of, somebody else's. I think that would be fair. Let's hear him out. So here's a letter that a small business owner, also known as a greedy, child-eating CEO or whatever it is now, he says, "To all my employees, there have been some rumblings around the office about the future of this company, and more specifically, your job. As you know, the economy has changed for the worse and presents many changes. However, the good news is this. The economy doesn't pose a threat to your job, but please read farther. What does threaten your job is the changing political landscape in this country. Of course, as your employer, I am forbidden to tell you whom I vote for. It is against the law to discriminate based on political affiliation, race, creed, religion, etc. Please vote for who you think will best serve your interests. However, let me tell you some little tidbits of facts which might help you decide what is in your best interest." And he doesn't just spew about Obama here. He just kind of tells his life story. I think it's pretty impressive. Here we go. First, well, it's easy to spew rhetoric that casts employers against employees. You have to understand that for every business owner, there's a backstory. This backstory is often neglected and overshadowed by what you see and hear. Sure, you see me park my Mercedes outside. You saw my big home at last year's Christmas party. I'm sure all these flashy icons of luxury conjure up some idealized thoughts about my life. However, what you don't see, backstory. Here it is. I started this company 12 years ago. At the time, I lived in a 300 square foot studio apartment for 3 years. My entire living space was converted into an office so I could put forth 100% effort into building a company, which, by the way, would eventually employ you. My diet consisted of ramen noodles because every dollar I spent went back into the company. I drove a rusty Toyota Corolla with a defective transmission. I didn't have time to socialize or date. Oftentimes, I stayed home on the weekends while my friends went out drinking and partying. In fact, I was married to my business. Hard work, discipline, and sacrifice. Meanwhile, my friends got jobs. They worked 40 hours a week and made a modest $50K a year, and spent every dime they earned. They drove flashy cars and lived in expensive homes and wore fancy designer clothes. Instead of hitting Nordstrom's for the latest hot fashion item, I was strolling through the Goodwill store extracting any item of clothing that didn't look like it was birthed in the 70s. My friends refinanced their mortgages and lived a life of luxury. I, however, did not. I put my time, money, and my life into a business with the vision that eventually, someday, I too would be able to afford these luxuries my friends supposedly had. So while you physically arrive here at the office around 9 a.m., mentally check in at about noon, then leave at 5 p.m., I don't. There is no off button for me. When you leave the office, you are done, and you have a weekend all to yourself. I unfortunately do not have the freedom. I eat shit, and he didn't swear in it, but he had 4 asterisks, but you know what that means. And breathe this company every minute of the day. There is no rest, there is no weekend, there is no happy hour. Every day, this business is attached to me like a one-day-old baby. You, of course, only see the fruits of that garden. The nice house, the Mercedes, the vacations, you never realize the backstory and the sacrifices I've made. Now the economy is falling apart, and I, the guy that made all the right decisions and saved his money to have to bail out the people who did not. People that overspent their paychecks suddenly feel entitled to the same luxuries that I have earned, sacrificed a decade of my life for. Yes, the business ownership has its benefits, but the price I've paid is steep and not without wounds. Unfortunately, the cost of running this business and employing you is starting to outweigh the marginal benefit, and let me tell you why. I'm being taxed to death, and the government thinks I don't pay enough. I have taxes, federal taxes, property taxes, sales and use taxes, payroll taxes, worker compensation taxes, unemployment taxes, taxes on taxes. I have to hire a tax man to manage all these taxes, and then guess what? I have to pay taxes for employing him. Government-issued mandates and regulations and all accounting paperwork that goes with it now occupy most of my time. On October 15th, I wrote a check to the U.S. Treasury for $288,000 for quarterly taxes. You know what my stimulus check was? Zero. Nada, nothing, bupkis, zilch. The question is this. Who is stimulating the economy? Is it me, the guy who has provided 14 people good-paying jobs and serves over 2.2 million people per year with a flourishing business? Or the single mother sitting at home pregnant with her 4th child, waiting for her next welfare check? Obviously, the government feels the latter is the economic stimulus of this country. The fact is, if I deducted, or stole, for people who don't know what deducted is, 50% of your paycheck, you quit and wouldn't work here. I mean, why should you? That's nuts. Who wants to get rewarded for only 50% of their hard work? Well, I agree, which is why your job is in jeopardy. Here's what many of you don't understand. To stimulate the economy, you need to stimulate what runs the economy. Had the government suddenly mandated that I didn't need to pay taxes, guess what? Instead of depositing that $288,000 into the Washington government black hole, I would have spent it hiring more employees and generating substantial economic growth. My employees would have enjoyed the wealth of the tax cut in the form of promotions and better salaries. Forget that now. When you have a comatose man on the verge of death, you don't defibrillate and shock his thumb and think that'll bring him back to life, do you? Or do you defibrillate his heart? Business is at the heart of America and has always been. To restart it, you must stimulate it, not kill it. Suddenly, the power brokers in Washington believe that the business sector is not the essential driver of the economic engine. Nothing could be farther from the truth, and this is the type of change you can keep. So where am I going with all this? It's quite simple. If any new taxes are levied on me or my company, my reaction will be swift and simple. I will fire you. I will fire your co-workers. You can then plead with the government to pay for your mortgage, your SUV, and your child's future. Frankly, it isn't my problem anymore. And I will close down this company, move to another country, and retire. You see, I'm done. I'm done with a country that penalizes the productive and gives to the unproductive. My motivation to work and to provide jobs will be destroyed, and with it will be my citizenship. Well, tax cuts to 95% of America sounds great on paper. Don't forget the backstory. If there is no job, there is no income tax. A tax cut on $0 is zero. So when you make a decision to vote, ask yourself who understands the economics of business and who doesn't. Whose policies will endanger your job? Answer those questions, and you should know who might be the one capable of saving your job. Well, the media wants to tell you, it's the economy, stupid. I'm telling you it isn't. If you lose your job, it won't be at the hands of the economy. It'll be at the hands of a political hurricane that swept through this country, steamrolled the Constitution, and will have changed its landscape forever. If that happens, you can find me in the South Caribbean, sitting on a beach, retired, and with no employees to worry about. Signed, and the guy took out his name, but it says your boss. So, I mean, you can walk away from this and say, you know, he's just a greedy CEO, but, I mean, look at it this way. Why should he work year-round, day in and day out, and make essentially no money just to provide people jobs? I mean, would you? That's all my question is. If you want to hear some biased crap, I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can, but if you want to hear a biased load of garbage, go watch Fox or MSNBC or something. Okay? Because I'm trying not to do that here. I'm just trying to provide another point of view the media doesn't like to show. So thank you, have a good day, and, you know, peace.